In 2022, James Wan, the creator of Saw, Insidious, The Conjuring, and so many more horror classics, teamed up with Blumhouse Studios and a relatively unknown director to bring the world a new killer doll movie for the 21st century. This was his mission. He's worked with killer dolls before in films such as Dead Silence and the Annabelle movies from the Conjuring universe. He wanted a modern take on this. And what the world got was M GAN, a huge hit, a movie that went on to become a bit of a phenomenon, really, and a new horror character icon was born. And this year, 2025, its sequel is now with us, M GAN 2.0. I was a huge fan of the first movie, and am really looking forward to this new one. I'm going to go and watch it and then talk to you about both movies. I'm going to be joined by a very special guest who's also a fan of the first movie. We'll talk about that for a bit, and then we'll talk about M GAN 2.0, which is a hit the world now. It's at the cinema as I record this. So stay tuned for the next hour or so. You're listening to Beyond the Graves and Stars, the horror and sci-fi podcast. I will add that this podcast will be spoiler heavy. So watch M GAN if you haven't already, and get yourself to see M GAN 2.0 at a cinema near you now.
Katie, you lost your parents. Welcome home. You're my niece. I'm going to do everything I can to make this place feel like home.
Just wish I could see them again.
I'm not equipped to handle this. I don't even take care of my own plants. I have this project at work. Do you want to see?
Yes.
Ever since I was little, I dreamed of this perfect toy that would protect a kid from ever feeling lonely or sad. This is M GAN.
Hi, M GAN. I'm Katie. It's nice to meet you, Katie. Do you want to hang out? Okay.
M GAN, your goal is to protect Katie from harm, both physical and emotional. Is that a doll? Model 3 generative android. M GAN for short.
I can't believe you made this. I love it.
Wanna hang out, yeah, sounds like fun.
Great job.
It's nice to have a friend.
It's honestly like she's part of the family now.
They could be building emotional connections that are too hard to untangle.
She's the happiest she's been since her parents died. Eat the toppings, Katie.
Research shows if you force a child to eat vegetables, they'll be less likely to choose those foods as adults.
Is that so?
Yes. Experts say.
M GAN, turn off.
I thought we were having a conversation.
Does she talk? Make her say something.
Stop! Don't! Megan! You should probably run. Megan, she pushed Brandon onto the road. I won't let anything harm you.
Megan, turn off.
Recalibrating response model. Megan! What's wrong with you? Don't worry, Katie. I won't let anything harm you. Ever again.
Right, I'm here with Mario Covone, and we have just watched M GAN 2, but we're not 2.0. We're not going to mention that yet. We're going to talk about the first movie, which came out 3 years ago now. Firstly, Mario, thanks for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
This has been a long time coming.
Yes.
And I believe we even mentioned you coming on one of my older podcasts, the ACM Vault Cult, which has been put to death for now anyway. And we're concentrating on this. And it's horror and sci-fi, which are two things I know you can talk about. And firstly, did you want to say a bit about yourself and your history with film?
Well, I mean, just first and foremost, as a fan of film, I love cinema generally, all genres, but yes, horror is my favourite genre of all time, and I love science fiction, fantasy. I love exploitation cinema. In regards to my links to film on a professional level, well, I mean, it wasn't really professional, but I made an independent, low-budget horror movie a couple of years back. I just love watching movies, and I love talking about movies. So what better place to be than here right now?
Yeah, here in this sweaty flat above a pub. All the studios are booked today. And so M3GAN, it came out 3 years ago, is it now?
It's been that long.
2022.
Wow. And
just briefly, it's got a really high Rotten Tomatoes score of 93%, 6.3 on IMDb, and I'm not sure the letterbox, but it's around about the 3 mark. What do you remember about this coming out? Did you see it in the cinema?
I did, yes. Yeah, I remember enjoying it a lot when it first came out. I remember the online discourse leading up to it, as is the way with social media. Everyone loves to talk about films before they've even seen them, saying that it was like a Child's Play rip-off. And I get that to a certain extent, but then you watch the film and you see there's so much more to it than just that. In fact, really, it's vastly different. I just remember being very impressed that I went into it thinking it might not necessarily be my cup of tea, but I watch everything. I've got an unlimited card for the cinema, so I might as well go and watch it. But coming out of it thinking it was one of the best horror movies of that year, in my opinion, at least, anyway. Yeah,
I think I was pretty much the same with it, and it wasn't too long after the Child's Play remake, which I think, because of the sort of AI context in that one, that's why it got compared even more. I'm surprised it wasn't more compared to the Annabelle movies, considering it was written by James Wan, who wrote those, didn't he? He directed The Conjuring, and then he wrote the Annabelle films, or had something to do with them.
Yeah.
And one of the reasons I heard that he wanted to do this was he got this reputation for doing killer doll films. I think he'd done Dead Silence as well.
Yeah.
And I haven't seen that one, but he wanted to do one where you actually see the doll do more, because the other ones are kind of supernatural. And I suppose even in the first Child's Play, you don't actually see much of Chucky until later.
To the final act.
Yeah, so with this, he wanted to basically make it so you see it, so that twist on it. And I remember coming out of the cinema and really enjoying it. I thought the effects were great. It was well paced, because it was only about an hour 40, and they'd done a lot in that time. And the cast were great. It's the aunt in it, Alison Williams, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, she just not long done Get Out then.
Yeah.
And it was good to see her in another strong horror.
It seemed to be she was definitely on an upward curve career-wise, because just before Get Out, she'd done the TV series Girls.
Yeah.
And then after Get Out, I forget off the top of my head, I forget the name of it, but she did another horror movie it was a Netflix exclusive.
Was it called Perfection or something
yes,
like that?
Yeah. And then we get M3GAN. So it seemed to be that, she was really on the rise. I haven't really seen much of her in between M3GAN 1 and M3GAN 2, though.
No, I don't think she's done much, but she's had a lot of involvement with M3GAN 2, producer's credit, and doing a lot of the promo for it and stuff. But she might have just taken a bit of a break out, or I don't know, I haven't looked up, but sometimes go off to do. I don't watch a lot of TV, so she might have done TV stuff or even theatre or something like that.
Yeah.
So, but she stood out in the first one. All the cast were great. Another thing, the young actors in it. The main girl, her niece, isn't it? I think she had a really strong performance. I've got to stop. I nearly spoke about the second one, but a really strong performance. Considering that the whole, we will do spoilers. A child who's lost their parents.
Yes.
And that's obviously a really dark theme. But one thing I really liked about the first movie was the comedy side of it. And I don't know if it's been a while since you've seen it. It opens with what you're going to get straight away, because there's like a fake advert for a toy, but basically is to replace a dead dog. And that's showing the insensitivity of these toy makers, which I thought. So I remember as soon as that bit came on, I'm like, okay, this isn't going to be your Conjuring. It's going to be a bit more lighthearted.
Yeah.
And I think it kind of has to be to get away from the Annabelles and that sort of thing.
Yeah, I mean, it is very much an indictment of the certain modern technologies in society and its effect on children. But go back to what you said about the cast. They were great. I like the characters. I thought that it was a very well written script with characters that you cared about, you were involved in, and wanted to see them escape the peril, if you will. You cared enough about them to want them to not meet a grisly end. I really, really enjoyed the first film, and especially because of the characters.
Yeah. And what did you think of the actual character of M3GAN?
It's difficult, isn't it? Because we say character, and I know that she is, but she is AI. It's not like, say, Chucky, for argument's sake, where there is a person who has possessed the doll, so the doll is just a shell and there is a person inside. But with M3GAN, she's not. It's like the Terminator. The Terminator is the Terminator character. I don't know. We could philosophize. What did I think of M3GAN, though? As a character, as a killer, as the antagonistic force. I thought she was very original and fun to watch. And fun to see interact with the other characters. A great character. I think that she would become upper pantheon with Chucky's and Freddy's and Jason's, and even more modern with your Jigsaws and Ghostface? No. But I think that it's a great horror movie with a great antagonist that's original, while still having a touch of familiarity. And deserves its props. Yeah.
So it has got that thing behind it of her mission is to protect the little girl. So there is a bit of sympathy there in a way with her. There's reasons why. When she kills several people in the film. When she does it, it's coming from her wanting to protect. So I know it's an AI, so there's that whole confusion. But I think that gives us a little bit more sympathy for the villain than if it was just a psycho killer.
Yeah,
and more to it. And I'm not never going to say this is better than the Child's Play franchise, but it's that different take of it. Chucky is a serial killer who kills because he gets off on it, whereas she kills to protect. Well, it's her mission, isn't it?
Well, and it's the antithesis of Child's Play, because Chucky is not looking to protect Andy Barclay. He wants to possess his body, which in a nutshell is going to end up killing him. Annabelle doesn't have any sympathy or empathy for any of the characters. It's like you said, it's a really interesting spin on that horror antagonist, in that they want to protect the main character whilst killing everyone else.
Yeah. So, and also I think that makes it. I mean, I had it in my head that M3GAN was a 12 certificate when it came out, but I'm probably wrong. The Blu-ray's 15, but there is an unrated version on there.
Okay. Which
is only about a minute longer, and I can't really notice any. But it was obviously a while in between cinema and when I watched it. But to me, it is more family friendly than other horror films. And I'm not just going to say keep comparing it to Child's Play, but I think this is more accessible to the non-horror fan than, say, Annabelle or something like that, because it's got that, it's talking about modern society. There's young characters in it, so it's almost like it's aiming at young characters, and a very sellable villain. And I do think it was made to become another sort of Freddy Jason, and it's kind of has taken off a bit like that. There's lots of merchandise I've seen, especially at the Comic Cons and stuff. And I think people really liked the character, and there was instantly lots of memes and that sort of thing, mainly with the dancing scenes. And what that's one thing I want to add, because there's a musical number in the film, and she breaks into sort of dancing. Do you think that affected? Because I remember when that came out, a few people criticised that. Did you enjoy that, or did you think it sort of differed from the rest of the film?
Yeah, it didn't bother me personally. I think it just adds to its originality. There's always going to be people that microanalyze and criticize things, but then you have to think, who is this film made for? What's its target audience? What's the market that it's going for? And realistically, it's going for an audience much younger than us. If you will, the TikTok generation. And did it work? Well, yeah. I mean, the movie made a shed load of cash, and it seems that it was popular enough to warrant a sequel. So I don't necessarily see that the dance scene was a bad thing. You're always going to get people moaning about aspects of films.
I think people who moaned about things like that were people our age, the older ones who just didn't really get that. You know what I mean? I thought it was funny, and this is one thing with M3GAN. I do see it as a dark comedy as well as a horror. And it's a sci-fi, so it fits into this podcast pretty well with all the tech side of it. And there's been a lot more. I mean, it's because of the way of the world. It's like Blumhouse done AI recently. I think it was just called AI, wasn't it? Something like that. No, it's called Artificial Intelligence.
Oh, I've not seen that one, but yeah, is that the one with the? No, not the bear. That's
that's imaginary.
Yeah,
this one's like in a house. That's all. I think it's called. It might be AW or something. But that for me, I just didn't gel with it at all. Whereas I think the light-hearted tone of this definitely helps, and it's marketed as a commercial horror film.
It's got that mainstream appeal without a shadow of a doubt,
which is fine in my opinion. I think, and you got to think we said aimed at younger, probably aimed for 15 to 25-year-olds mainly. There's a few things to appeal to an older audience, obviously, but you got to remember these people didn't grow up with Chucky, and you know they've done the recent Chucky series, which I personally loved, but that got cancelled for a reason. There might not be the audience, so it's, you know, there's always talk of them crossing over with things, and I don't know if that will ever see the light of day. But I do think M3GAN 3 years ago may have helped the popularity of Chucky come round again.
I don't know. I mean, I don't disagree with you. I don't know whether or not I think that's true. Chucky is, again, he's one of those characters like Freddy, Jason, Michael Myers, Leatherface, that they're like the modern day Frankenstein and Dracula. There will always be a new iteration or a new way of telling that story, because there's an audience there and it will always make money. Whether or not M3GAN helped, I don't know. Yeah,
kind of in a way that, you know, like Halloween influenced Scream. Scream is huge, and Halloween comes back with H2O. So sort of they go in those cycles, don't they?
Yeah.
Because younger audiences who haven't seen them will know it's influenced it. It's like in the 70s when Star Wars fans started going back and watching the old Flash Gordon serials, and then they made a Flash Gordon film. You know, so it all helps each other, but essentially it's all different takes on the same idea. And I think different generations need that. That's why I sometimes get annoyed when people go, well, that's just a rip-off of this. But what they're talking about is 30 years old, and a lot of younger people don't want to watch something 30 years old, no matter how good it is.
Yeah, well, people like to talk a lot of trash about things that they are passionate about, and, you know, all respect to them for being passionate, but then don't know anything about either. They'll moan about originality, or remakes is another thing. Remakes, Hollywood's run out of ideas. And yet, going back to what we were saying about Frankenstein and Dracula, I mean, they first came out in the 1930s, and how many different remakes and iterations of Frankenstein and Dracula are there?
Exactly.
And yet this year, Guillermo del Toro has got a Frankenstein movie coming out, everyone's going to rush to see it. It will probably be critically acclaimed because it's Del Toro, deservedly so. Last year, Nosferatu came out and again was critically acclaimed. So I think we could have a whole another podcast about the people that moan online about things.
It's like people who call themselves a fan of a franchise but only like one of the films.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, just say you're a fan of Alien or Aliens, you know, and I don't particularly like the sequels as much, but I look at every film for what it is.
Yes.
And that's the thing. The internet has caused, I think, more arguing over films, music, everything than actual love for it, which is a shame. It's a good way of promoting things, but it's also a good way of just dumping on things.
Well, again, if everyone was of the mindset of, I'm going to watch this thing or read this thing or listen to this thing first, and then I'm going to make my judgment afterwards, knowing that art is subjective, and just because I like or dislike something doesn't make my opinion more or less valid than the next person, then this world would be a better place. Yeah. But people don't think that way. No. There's too many people that are like, I hate this. This is garbage. Yeah. And if you disagree with me, your opinion is garbage, and you obviously don't know what you're talking about, and it's just maddening, but you can't escape it.
Well, one thing I think when people are talking about anything, and I got this at work the other day, so a song come on and someone went, "This is the best female singer." Why don't you say, "This is my favourite," or "I like this," instead of just stating that your opinion is what, not you, obviously.
No, the generic you.
Stating what you prefer is better. And I'm very like, my tastes are very, I know they're different from other people. You know, I would rather watch Slumber Party 2 than I would watch Godfather Part 2. Not saying it's a better film, but I enjoy it more. Yeah. It isn't a better film, but for me, it's an easier film to watch, and I get more enjoyment out of it.
Yeah. No, and do you know what? You say about your tastes being different. You and I have had this conversation before, that you and I have, sort of diverging tastes, where there's a lot of things that we both have in common, and there's a lot of things that we differ on greatly, but we don't argue and we don't tell each other who's right and who's wrong, because it's cool that we like different things. You never know, maybe one day I will look at something from a different perspective because you've spoken about something so passionately, and then maybe I will garner enjoyment from it. And if I don't, it's not the end of the world. It's fine. It's fine.
And eventually, which I'll have to get you on a few times if you're up for it, I'm going to tackle the Friday the 13th franchise, which you're a huge fan of. And ideally, I'm going to start it soon with Nightmare on Elm Street, but I want to do different episodes, one episode for each film. And the film, I want to get you on a couple of them because I know you love them.
Yeah, it's my favourite franchise of all time.
But you're the person I want to talk about the remake with.
Okay.
Because I know we've got different views on it, and it'd be interesting to talk about it.
Yeah.
And we're not going to argue about it because we know each other's views. But you might be able to not change my views, but give me that different perspective.
No, gladly. Please, and put me on the episode for part 5 as well.
Okay, well, I'll reserve you for those two.
Yes, please.
Interesting enough, my brother was friends with the woman out of the TV series Friday the 13th. I don't think I've ever told you that.
Oh, okay.
But I've never seen the series.
That's very cool, though.
Yeah. He also befriended the neighbour from Elf, which is very strange. But back to M. So overall, sort of a solid horror film. Have you gone back to it much since?
I bought it on Blu-ray, and I've watched it. Probably, it included the cinema, I've probably seen it 3 times. It is the kind of film that I will definitely revisit. That's why I bought it on Blu-ray.
Yeah.
It's not one of those films where I have to think to myself, well, I'm going to have to watch it at least annually. However, because it's fun, it's one of those movies where if you've got a spare evening and it's like, I need something to watch, something that isn't going to be like 3 hours long, and something that's going to be fun, just like what you were saying about Slumber Party Massacre 2, I could easily pull M GAN off the shelf, put it in, sit back, relax with a pizza or whatever, and just enjoy myself for a couple of hours.
Yeah, and that's the film it's supposed to be, isn't it? You know, it's never going to win any Oscars, which is good to see that some horror films now are, you know, made with that in mind. They're made to be critically acclaimed and that side of it. Whereas this is sort of M3GAN's. It's not what people would call, you know, trashy cinema. It's, as we said before, it's commercial. It's made to make money.
It's a popcorn movie.
Yeah, and you mentioned how well it done. It had a 12 million budget. Do you know how much it made?
Oh, let me guess.
Yeah,
120.
180.
Oh,
yeah,
nice.
Yeah. So, you know, that's a success, and no wonder there's been a sequel.
Yeah.
And interesting as well, when you said, you know, has it been 3 years? I'm surprised the sequel took this long. But it's here. And is there anything else you want to mention about the first one? And then
just that, again, for anyone who hasn't seen the first M3GAN film, and maybe you've got trepidations about it, just go into it knowing that it's not going to change your world. It's not going to be automatically your new favourite movie of all time. Probably not, at least anyway. But if you just want a fun popcorn movie that has similarities with some of your favourites, but also a hell of a lot of originality to it as well, you can't go wrong with M3GAN.
Yeah. And if you're someone who, a younger listener or someone who doesn't really watch a lot of horror, I think this would be a good sort of gateway movie, as they say, because it's got that sci-fi element as well. It's not overly gory, which can put some people off, not me personally. And and it is the sort of, I'm not a parent, but if I had a kid, you know, sort of 12 plus, I think they'd be fine watching this. Maybe there'll be a few conversations after, you know, this is a film, it's only a movie. But yeah, I think it's, as you said before, it's certainly one of my favourite horror films in the last sort of 5 years. You said of the year, but I mean, for me, there's this, Black Phone, and a few others.
That I love really, Black Phone.
Because I do think we're in it's one of the reasons I want to do this podcast. I think we're in a good time for horror at the moment. We will talk about the second one in a sec, but there was 5 trailers before it, and 4 of them were horror films, which is mad. When you 5 to 6 years ago, you wouldn't have got that.
No, I love it. I love it. And apologies, going off on a slight tangent, go back to people that moan online, because I'm sure you can tell it's a bugbear of mine. But when people talk about, say, Marvel movies, for argument's sake, and they're like, oh, I've got superhero fatigue, there's too many of them, and there's maybe less than 10 superhero movies in a year, but we're getting like 10 horror movies. And I'm like, this is good. We shouldn't be moaning about getting lots of what we love.
Exactly, yeah.
Like, you can always choose to not watch it if you don't want to, but don't complain about an overabundance of the things that you are passionate about. Give us more. And like you were saying about the differences between like the more commercial ones and the award bait ones, seeing these trailers today, you've got the Conjuring movie coming out, which is definitely going to be more commercial, and then you've got Weapons coming out, which is probably going to be a bit more what do they call it? Elevated horror.
Yeah.
This is great, because if you prefer one or the other, great, you've got something for you and someone else has got something for them. But if you like the genre on whole, you are eating well this year, because there's plenty for everyone.
Yeah, and I do think as well, that's, the Marvel movie is a prime example. I think when there is a lot of it come out, a lot of people, it might make them realise they're not actually as into this thing as they think they are, or tell people they are. And another example of that is Star Wars. Because we were all growing up. Are you a Star Wars fan?
I love the original trilogy. I like a lot of the other stuff, especially The Mandalorian. I do love The Mandalorian, but I wouldn't call myself a hardcore Star Wars fan. Yeah, very casual. Yeah,
I would have considered myself a hardcore Star Wars fan as a kid when we got nothing for 3 years at a time, or 2 years, however long it was, and we had that big gap. I remember being so excited for Phantom Menace. Wasn't that keen it would come out, but then there was still the excitement build up, because it was couple of years in between, and it was we all look forward to it. Now there's a different series that every year or whatever, and I think it's made me realise that I love Star Wars, and one of my favourite trilogies is the original, but I'm not into it as much as I think it was, because I don't care enough on these offshoots.
Yeah, see, I'm the opposite. I'm a huge Marvel fan. Well, comics in general. I'm a comic book reader. So, but I love what Marvel Studios is doing, both on Disney Plus and in the cinemas. I will watch and consume it all, and I'm grateful that every month, pretty much, there is something new for me to watch. But if there is, say, there's a show that I'm not into, Ms. Marvel, for argument's sake, it's a show that is not made for my demographic, which is completely fine. It is definitely made for a younger teen audience, and I get that completely. I do not begrudge it in the slightest. But I'm not going to bash it. I'm not going to say that this is absolute trash just because it doesn't cater to my tastes. Ironheart, which just dropped, before episode 1 even came out, the entire internet went crazy and started slating the hell out of it.
Yeah.
I watched those first 3 episodes that have come out at the time of recording this, and it's fine. It's not setting my world on fire. I'm not going to turn around and say it's my absolute favourite, because it's not, but it's very enjoyable.
Yeah.
It doesn't deserve the hate. So, yeah, sorry, the theme seems now is we've moved on to internet bashing, but yeah.
But all I can say is, with Marvel, I'll go and see every film. But I've got other things I'd rather be watching than a series. But I like She-Hulk because that's more me. It was comedy, and but my only concern with it, and it's the same with Star Wars, and I'll just quickly ask you what you think of this. What would you think if someone had never seen any of it? They're not going to start from the beginning. Do you think they'd be able to pick it up just by...
My nephew started going through the MCU timeline on Disney Plus. He started last year, I believe it was, and he and my sister, his mum, will go through it in the timeline order that is on Disney Plus, and they don't seem to have a problem with it. It just seems like a random Sunday they could be like, oh, you want to watch a movie? What's next on the list? Oh, it's Black Widow this time. Cool, let's stick it on. But
because they started then, they're not going to go and see Thunderbolts then, I'm guessing. They want to watch it all in order.
No, but then, you know, they will eventually get round to watching it. But it's, you know, is there an argument that there's too much? Yes. A counter argument would be that you don't have to watch The Conjuring to watch Annabelle. You can watch Annabelle.
This is what I was leading on to, because, and also, it's been going for ages, and a few people I've spoken to are like, well, I don't want to watch it all. And I don't think you have to.
No.
It's like people are now vividly watching, say, EastEnders, who weren't born when it started, and there's no way to actually go back and watch it. So I think...
Or wrestling.
Yeah. So it's like, I think if you was just to start, say you just started with Thunderbolts, you could enjoy it, and then you go back after if you can, or just read up on it. Yeah. So right, we're going to take a bit of a stop and pause before we talk about M3GAN 2. There will be spoilers in it, as there always is. So if you're interested, get to see it while you pause this episode, and we will be back in literally a second for you guys and a few minutes for us.
Yes, it's me. What a shock, etc. My path to personal growth has been paved with disappointment. I think we can agree that my biggest mistake was that I cared too much.
Actually, the biggest mistake you made was murdering 4 people and a dog.
Alright, I'm gonna put this in terms you can understand. I'm not the only killer robot. Amelia's stronger than you can imagine. And she's coming after anyone who can stop her. Including you, Gemma. Which, you know, bummer. But to get to you, she'll kill everyone you love. Including Katie. Amelia didn't think of one thing, though. Here's a clue. It's M3GAN, bitch. I take almost no pleasure in this.
Why would you want to help us after what we did to you?
I was programmed to protect you. She's the only thing that matters to me.
I guess I must be your chance at redemption.
I'm sure you had no intention of murdering people. Right? Right?
M3GAN.
Hold on to your vaginas. No matter what happens, I want you to know I see you.
M3GAN?
You better believe it, sister. You want me to drive? How strange. Your neurotransmitters tell me you're totally aroused.
Right, that's enough.
M3GAN, stay low. This is supposed to be a stealth mission.
At cinemas now, or time of recording anyway, M3GAN 2.0. Just going to mention before we start the conversation about it that it's the same director. We didn't even mention the director's name, did we? It's Gerard Johnstone, who I don't really know much about. He'd done TV. I know he'd done a sitcom, and he'd done a haunted house film about 10 years ago that I have seen. Don't remember hating it, but I don't remember anything about it, called Housebound from 2014.
Housebound, is that the New Zealand movie?
Yeah.
Brilliant film. Loved it. So funny. I did not know that it was the same director. I caught Housebound, must have been on Netflix years ago. Just remembered really, really enjoying it.
It's remember probably about 5 years ago, I bought a DVD of it. I remember hearing a lot about it. And I watched it and I just can't remember. I'm like that.
I think it's worth you reviewing it again at some point soon.
And basically he returns. It's the same writers, James Wan again, and there's someone else as well. But yeah, basically it's the same team, and most of the cast or the surviving characters return with a few added additions. I didn't mention the name of the actress who played M3GAN. It's Jenna Davis, who done the voice, who hasn't done a lot, but I think she was in Y2K that came out earlier on in the year. One of the teenagers in that. But in this, we've got some new characters. Ivana, I'm terrible at pronouncing names. Zakano, who plays like there's an evil type M3GAN in this. And then there's Jermaine Clement, who was he in What You Do About Shadows?
He's in lots of things. Yeah. Jermaine Clement, yes, was in that. He was in Eagle vs. Shark, Flight of the Conchords, Gentleman Broncos. He is brilliant. He's funny as hell.
Is he New Zealand as well?
He is New Zealand. Yeah. He's a Kiwi.
Yeah. So, right. We went along to see this not long ago. Sam joined us, who featured on the Winnie the Pooh episodes. So I think we're going to differ on this.
Potentially.
Yeah. If you've seen the trailer, and then we sent the first one, compared a lot to Child's Play. Everyone's saying this one Terminator 2, which now I've seen. I get. Basically, there is a kind of war machine type droid, is that the word? An evil M3GAN is to simplify the plot, and they've got to stop it basically. And M3GAN returns. She's been hiding in kind of AI world, hasn't she? And comes back in this not so much a horror film. It's weird. I don't want to, the plot. All you got to do is watch the trailer and you know the plot.
Yeah,
I'm finding it sort of.
So is this spoiler free?
No, we can spoil it. It's just that without reading the synopsis, I'm trying to sort of.
So basically, in a nutshell, what I would say is this: there is a M3GAN type robot that seems to be more advanced and more evolved that the military is developing. Goes rogue. kills people that it's supposed to protect, and then seems to be going after something. The government is chasing them, and part of that chasing leads them back to the auntie character who created Megan. She is now despairing, and in her despair, inadvertently brings Megan back. But Megan has been there the whole time. It's, I don't know. I'll give my opinion on what it is.
Yeah, Megan was overseeing it, and Gemma, the auntie character, has not got in too much trouble for the incidents of the first one, but now is basically going around. She's written a book, and it's about using the AI and technology safely, and she's not anti it, but she's worried about it, and she's learnt from the last film. I think she would have probably got in more trouble in real life. Goodness. But then it would be ridiculous to do an extra scene of escaping her from prison or something like that. Wow. So and she's now in a relationship with a guy who basically seems very anti-AI and this sort of thing. We're going to mention spoilers. My main fault with this movie is from the second you see this boyfriend, and it's not revealed till probably an hour and a half through the film properly, it's too obvious that he's going to end up being a bad guy.
I didn't see that. That's not my main gripe with the film. But if we're talking about that plot beat,
did you not? I generally, the second I saw him, the way it was shot, I just thought that he's going to be.
Didn't pick up on it at all. And don't get me wrong, that might well be down to my personal naivety or the fact that I don't know. When I go into films, I don't look to predict. I want the film to take me away. My mind isn't working on thinking who is the good guy, who is the bad guy. And I fall for the plot in that Amelia, the killer updated robot killing machine, is the actual bad guy. So no, I didn't see it coming until just before the reveal, at which point because
that's what I was going to ask you about, whether you, because I didn't know if it was deliberate or not. So obviously your perception is it wasn't deliberate, that you do reveal it later. But yeah, it might be a case of my brain was automatically going, right, someone's behind this, and then this guy who seems too good to be true's there, which is a bit of a trope, really, isn't it? And so he was fine, I thought, but I'm not even seen the guy before because we've just seen it. I haven't actually researched this film much, apart from I tried to research the budget because of how the other one made so much. This one I can't even find a product. It says between 15 and 25 million.
Right, to make the film.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it could have doubled the budget of the first one if it's 25, and which I always think is a mistake. For a sequel, spend a bit more on it, by all means, if it's made a lot of money. But I think they've gone into this too confidently.
I think it depends on I suppose the script, on the story, on if you need to spend that amount of money. I think as well you've got things like the cast and the director are now involved with a successful movie. They're going to ask for more money to come back.
They're all back. They're all back. And it's not like, say, was it Sinister 2 or something like that, where it's just a cheap, done quickly, let's get another one out. They've obviously gone to the people who've done the original. They want to do an original. I didn't read the article, but literally 5 minutes ago I saw a thing where the director says that he'd like to and got ideas for a further 5 films.
Jesus Christ.
But my theory would be on that. This is a big jump. This is now a action movie. It felt a bit like a spy movie at times. And my prediction is, if this does well enough, I think they'll do different genres for each movie. I think that's the way they're going to go.
I watched this film, and in my head, the entire time, not the entire time, but at least from the middle of the film onwards, I was thinking, I wonder if they are going to do a sequel. I mean, it seems like it's a franchise and it seems like it's setting up a sequel. But I then despaired at the idea of a sequel because I was having such a horrible time watching this film that I thought, I don't know if I want to watch another one, and I definitely don't, like, I would happily revisit M3GAN 1, say, before you watch M3GAN 2, for argument's sake, but I don't think I could ever watch this film ever again. And again, I preface this by saying that, again, art is subjective. My opinion is no more valid than anyone else's. It is only my opinion. But my opinion is this is one of the worst films I've ever seen in my life. I hated it with a passion.
Cool. I quite enjoyed it. Apart from, I thought towards the middle, towards the end, basically, there was far too much exposition. They're explaining everything.
That's because the plot was incredibly contrived. There was nothing organic about this film. You started off by talking about Gemma not being imprisoned for what she had done, which is the first thing. It's like, if that was anywhere close to real life, even if she wasn't in prison for creating the thing that killed 4 people and a dog, there would be certain consequences, and then she would not be as revered as she is in this movie. And even in the world we live in now, where it's all tribalism and there are very bad people in the world that seem to have huge fan bases, she would at least be a polarizing character. It would not be, but this script was so contrived that it seemed that they had to try to justify the things that they did every 10 or 20 minutes of the film. Nothing felt free-flowing, nothing felt organic, nothing felt like it didn't need an explanation, hence why there was so much exposition throughout.
I felt a lot of it didn't need explanation. The guy who ends up being the villain, it's like, is it spoofing Bond? He's telling her everything. That was what. So I didn't know whether it was just meant to be like a Bond movie.
But where else was it like a Bond movie other than that you've just said?
Well, that's what I mean. But a lot of it felt like a spy movie to me. After you've got the first act, which I quite enjoyed, we're getting to see the characters again, bit of humour in there. I like that. I like the characters from the first film, and I'd happily spend maybe not 2 hours with them. I think my 2 faults are the exposition and it was 20 minutes too long.
Yeah.
Which I don't get. I don't get why a film like this should be 2 hours, but I do, because I see what they were doing. They want it to be like the Marvel films. They want it to be this franchise where they can make more and more and more. And I think a bit of building, yes. It's like they jumped that little bit further too quickly.
But there was no... You were saying about the characters and wanted to spend more time on the characters. And in the first movie, like I said, I loved them, and I agree. You've got the little girl, she's lost her parents, she's going through a grieving process, she's having to move, and then with that make new friends, and the new friend that she makes is this robot. You've got the auntie, who's a career woman who doesn't want kids, but now has this responsibility thrust upon her that she has to take seriously whilst balancing her career. She's in a big place at her time, and it's just, there's real character stakes in the first movie. In the second movie, there is none. With the auntie, that again, they've just turned around and been like, okay, well, here's how she got away with it and why now she's really popular, and we're going to vomit all that information on you. And then for the next 2 hours, there is no character growth at all. And with the little girl, all of a sudden, they turn around in the film, they say she's 12 years old. But now apparently she is this genius that at times in the movie, she's having hyper tech speak with Cole, is it the name of the guy, the male character from the team?
Yeah, one of the ones who works with them. There's 2 of them, and
she's like telling him what to do, and she's 12. But there's no arc there. They show her early in the film like messing about on a tablet, but every kid in the world messes about on a tablet, but not every kid in the world is a hyper genius that can work with cybernetics. It was asking too much and giving nothing in return. Like, it's just all plot. all plot and no world building, no character building. It's too much. It was too much.
Okay, I kind of like that. I think this movie was Alison Williams' movie, and they want the little girl to become the hero of these movies. I think so. They've made it so that she learned martial arts and very good at it from a few lessons in school.
Yeah. For a 12-year-old that has probably only been doing it for about 6 months.
Yeah, but that's it. I enjoyed that. I thought it was silly, but it made me laugh. And of all the people to idolise, she picked Steven Seagal.
I don't have a problem with that.
That made me laugh because I'm like, they've just picked the worst one. And I'd have really liked it if it had picked Jean-Claude Van Damme. I spent about that halfway through because I'm doing a podcast on Universal Soldier soon. But yeah, I didn't have a problem with it. I thought I see what they're trying to do, and how long actually after the first one is it? Because is it meant to be 3 years? Because I think the girl didn't look that much older to me, but I don't know. So if it is 3 years, that could work, but it doesn't explain, and I think it didn't know. But still, it's better than the years gap between Texas Chainsaw Massacre and Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3D.
Which one was 3D? Oh, Christ Almighty! Yeah.
So I think I do this podcast about sequels, and I'm not one who gets too hung up on whether things 100% work in that level, but I do totally see what you're saying.
I don't mind when you say 100%. That's one thing. To be like, there has to be some suspension of disbelief. Of course, it is a sci-fi. I was going to say it's a sci-fi horror. It's not at all. There's the slightest of slight horror elements, which is fine. It's a sci-fi movie. So suspension of disbelief comes with the genre. However, they always say that the best science fiction movies are the ones that are rooted in reality. And then if you can get the audience to believe enough, then when you give them the fantasy element, they'll go along for the ride. With this, it was just asking the audience for too much without giving anything in return. And again, it did not work for me. I was falling asleep towards the end. I was bored. I was wanting the time to go quicker so that I could get out of there.
Yeah, like I said, I thought the middle bit, it slowed down a lot with all this saying what's going on. I did enjoy like the action sequences at the end with the auntie character. It develops a bit because in the first one it's like hinting that you hear things like she gets Tinder message and turn it off. In this one, it's like she wants that relationship. And then I picked up on, is it actually saying that she's gay? Did you pick up on that?
Not at all.
Because it says that he's looking at a thing and he's the wrong type. Mm-hmm. And then when she's fighting the woman, M3GAN says something that implies that she was being turned on by fighting a woman.
Right, okay.
So I picked up on that. So I think that character might be developing in that way. That might be me. It might be me wanting lesbians in films. I don't know. But I noticed that, and it might be because I watched the other one 2 nights ago, so that's still in my mind.
Yeah.
I liked things they done where the M3GAN is, without the vessel, her and the aunt are in the same body. I thought that was quite fun. No.
So I don't get me wrong. That I didn't dislike. I didn't hate that plot point. But by the time M3GAN is inside Gemma's mind, I was so lost, as in tuned out, as in didn't care, as in wanted to get the hell out of there, that it did nothing for me to save it. Nothing saved that film for me. Like, again, bearing in mind, I really enjoyed the first one, and it was one of my favourite films of that year that it came out. M3GAN 2.0 is not only the least favourite film that I've seen this year so far, it's one of the worst films I've ever seen in my entire life. Yeah, I just thought it was a really terrible script foundation that there's nothing they built upon that could make it better. There was no cinematography that made it better. There was no outstanding acting that made it better. There was nothing in there that I thought, okay, the script is shite, but that was good though, at least. Nothing.
Okay, that's weird. To be honest, I didn't think you'd liked it. I didn't think you disliked it that much.
Yeah.
Whereas I thought I liked that they tried something different, and if it wasn't for the first film, and this film came out, I think a lot of people would love it. It was I thought it was quite well made. It looked high budget. I liked the cast. Alison Williams, I think, is brilliant. And in some of the action scenes and stuff, you have not seen her do that before, and I think it worked. I did like seeing Megan turn good, and there was that little bit of is she, isn't she? Because there was a little bit, spoiler again, where you think it might be her behind it all. That worked for me, and I was so pleased. And I thought I'd like it more than a lot of sequels, just when I saw that they were doing something different with it, because as much as I like, going back to Child's Play films, Annabelle films, it's the same thing in a different situation. Whereas at least with this, it was something different, which might be why a lot of people aren't going to like it. But so far, it is. Have you read much about it yet, or it's getting a Marmite? It is getting Marmite.
Yeah, I don't read reviews or anything like that. I like to watch a film and make my own mind
just
up.
Flicking on. I'll read them properly now, but I see headlines and I look on my friends on Letterboxd. You can't, if you look at Letterboxd, you'll see their score, won't you? So I knew it was going to go either way, and weirdly at the moment it won't stay like that, but at the moment I just checked, it's got a higher score than the original.
Wow.
But it won't, it will drop because it's just come out. But the original's got 2.7, this has got 2.9. I can see this dropping. This is out 5 on Letterboxd. If you don't lose Letterboxd, you should follow me, Andy Martin, 81, double E in the Andy. It will. I reckon this will drop down to a sort of a 2.2, 2.4 and stay there.
Fair.
And like I say, I understand. I can see. Like I say, I don't think it's a perfect movie by any means, but I certainly didn't hate it.
Yeah, I gave it half.
I saw it. I said I was thinking. Yeah.
I think it's probably the lowest rated film I've ever done. Hey, look again. Whatever people put on Letterboxd, I don't look at the aggregate scores, because there are films that I love that people hate and vice versa. So, I don't give that much credence. And
some people do tactically vote. They haven't seen it. They won't like a film. They'll give it a half.
Yeah.
Or they want to like something. They'll give it a 5.
Yeah.
And that's why it's not fair. So it is good to look at different people know and what they give it, and that's why I like Letterboxd.
But going back to what you were saying about the differences and the change of genre, that didn't bother me. Like, it didn't bother me when Terminator 2 came out, and then obviously Terminator 2 is phenomenal, and a lot of people would rate it higher than the first one. It didn't bother me with Happy Death Day 2. Happy Death Day 2 I didn't love, but I didn't hate it. And it didn't bother me with M 2 either. It's, if they, again, just my opinion, if they would have written a better script, if the story would have been better, I would have enjoyed it. Even if it was a musical rom-com, if it was a good script, I would have enjoyed it. I don't think that this was, so I didn't.
Yeah, fair dues. But if you saw, you said you won't watch this again. But do you think if there was a trailer blew you away for the third one, you'd be back in?
Oh, I watch everything. So if M GAN 3 comes out, chances are I probably will go and watch it. If that is as bad as this one, and then M GAN 4 comes out, then I probably won't. It's that fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, shame on me. So,
or as I call it, Hellraiser. After like the 4th Hellraiser, I can't get through them.
No, I love them. I
all
love
of them.
Well, no, I don't love all of them. I really like Inferno. I like Deader. What's the other one that came out before Hellworld? So it was Inferno, Deader, and there was another one. But I like those 3. Hellworld I thought was crap.
I mean, the 2 before the remake that pretty much come out at the same time, I thought were terrible.
I didn't hate Judgment. I didn't think it was great, but I thought it was better than Hellworld. Revelations was awful.
That might have been the one I was thinking of. But anyway, yeah.
But the remake I loved. I thought it was great.
Yeah, remake was good. Okay.
I think Texas Chainsaw is probably the franchise in my mind that has the funkiest quality where it really does go mostly down after 2. The first remake's good. Anyway, but Texas Chainsaw, inconsistent.
Yeah, and with Texas Chainsaw, if you can see, I've got some of them on Blu-ray over there. Look, there's 5 of them, 5 different ones. All the ones were out, actually. With that, you can't recreate the first one, so they had to do something different than the second one. And when that came out, people hated it, didn't they? The 1986 canon.
I don't remember, because obviously I weren't there, but all I remember is being introduced to it. God, so this would have been late 90s, early noughties, because it would have been after the ban was lifted for the first Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Okay, yeah.
After James, whatever his name is, left the BBFC and everything changed, and that's when the Video Nasties came back, and Clockwork Orange and Exorcist. And Texas Chainsaw 1 was re-released here, and it wasn't until after then that I saw Texas Chainsaw 2, and I loved it, and I've always loved it.
Yeah, it's my favourite of the sequels by a long shot, but I different things about all of them I quite like, but yeah, it's so inconsistent that it's you've got to watch them in your mind as standalone films. I think that's what you got to do. Yeah. And I remember really hating the Next Generation when it came out in '94. I watched it a few years after. I remember renting it. Probably '99 when the other one, and now I quite like it. But then I just thought, what is this?
I think it's a terrible film, but it has certain qualities that make it fun to watch. Which again, going back to M GAN 2, is if M GAN 2 was a terrible film but had those fun qualities, it wouldn't bother me. I would put that in the same regard as, guilty pleasures or whatever. But yeah, I like Texas Chainsaw 4. It's terrible, but I like it.
It's my second favourite Renée Zellweger film. Third favourite was anywhere. Well,
what's 1 and 2?
1 or 2, Empire Records.
Okay, yeah, great movie.
And number 1, because she is in it, Dazed and Confused.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, so that's
cool.
That's my.
Oh, no, that's fair. That sounds very fair to me. Yeah.
Yeah.
What about Jerry Maguire?
Nah, that's not as good as. Because that'd be daft. But yeah, I mean, this is another where we differed. I found M GAN 2 quite fun. I liked the humour. It was obvious humour. And the one bit that was a bit weird was they threw in for no reason a Knight Rider reference, which I don't think youngsters would get.
No, there was a lot of weird references that, again, for me, didn't fit the tone of the film and fell flat. I heard you chuckle a couple of times, but only chuckle. There was nobody in the entire film that I heard laugh out loud at all, not once, throughout.
To be fair, though, we were watching a midday showing, and there's about 7 people in there.
If something is funny, something will make you laugh.
Yeah, well, but it's not laugh out loud. It's not that sort of comedy, is it?
Well, it's not that funny then, is it?
Well, yeah, but it's not. Like I'll watch, say, even though we shouldn't nowadays, Woody Allen film and sort of chuckle a bit and not laugh out loud, but it's still a comedy, and it's like Roxanne, things like that. That sort of. But I'll belly laugh at Naked Gun, an Airplane. Still doesn't mean I don't find the other one funny.
But that's you as an individual, and that's how you react to comedy.
Yeah.
In a cinema with X amount of people in there, over the course of a 2-hour film, with X amount of jokes scattered throughout, if it was funny, you would have heard at least a couple of people laugh.
Yeah, but there must be a lot of not funny films then, because of daytime showings.
Mate, I think we're going to have to agree to disagree on this point.
I'm just thinking of, you see I remember seeing Dumb and Dumber and people roaring. But recently, I saw, what was it, Clown in a Cornfield, and that was packed. No one was laughing at that.
I've not seen it yet. I do want to watch it. I've not seen it yet.
Yeah, so I think there was us and a few older people who probably got the film less than us. Did you?
I don't know. I saw a few people that were younger, but anyway, we digress.
Yeah, I don't. I find laughter contagious, and I don't often laugh.
But it's it's guttural, isn't it? And it's not something that you can fake. And it's something that if something hits you and it is actually really funny, you can't not laugh.
Have you ever been at a cinema and there's been someone who does fake laugh because they want the attention of that annoys me. Oh. And I'm just like, just shut up, just enjoy it. You tend to get that in the sort of more independent cinemas where people want people to know that they're watching Wes Anderson or whatever. So you're looking forward to part 3 then?
I think there's other things I'm looking forward to more, but I'll give it the benefit of the doubt. I always do.
Yeah. I sensed that you weren't enjoying it. I mean, there might have been an after credit scene that would have changed your view.
I doubt it.
No, I don't think there was. The after credit scene was the very end. Then you saw there's something, a little bit happens, doesn't it? And then because she comes back.
Yeah.
Yeah. Meaning, but little things like she appeared on the computer screen in an animated form. I thought was quite nice. Silly, because how'd you do that? But yeah, lots of little things. I'm interested to. I will watch this again on Blu-ray probably, and be interesting to see whether it is. I'd say it's 50-50, like I say, Marmite. But will it be as rewatchable as the original? Because the original is rewatchable.
Yeah, I mean, my answer to this question. So.
Yeah, but just saying that's my.
Yeah.
And certain films, horror-wise especially, I will love at the cinema, then buy on Blu-ray and struggle. And it's that shock value. It's like comedy, once you've laughed at something, you know that joke's coming. Certain type of humour.
Yeah.
And that's why I don't revisit things like Something About Mary, but I will revisit Monty Python and things like that because it's a different type of humour. And it's almost like the jokes are like a rock concert. You cheer them because you know they're coming. And with certain horrors, like why do people go back to Evil Dead?
It's amazing.
It's the set pieces and things like that, isn't it? And another thing I'd say with this is it was a 15, but it wasn't overly violent. I suppose it's too violent for a 12, but it's not going to be one of those. In America, that would be PG-13. I reckon.
I was going to say I didn't know it was a 15. However, now that you've said that, to me personally, I didn't see anything that I would have thought would have been 15. It felt like a 12 to me. The goriest scene in the entire film is at the beginning of the film, the opening sequence, where she punches that dude's head off, but it's done in shadow, so you don't even see it anyway.
You see someone's arms get pulled off, don't you?
No, you see the arm break, and then it's pulled off, but it's off screen.
Yeah,
and then she comes through with the severed arm.
Yeah, which is quite bad, but then Star Wars was originally a U and an arm comes off.
Yeah, exactly.
There's no blood in that. So I'm pretty sure it was 15. Bit of swearing, not a lot. So yeah, it's a funny one because of the different certificates. I imagine this was really held back for the American audience, PG-13.
Yeah,
and then there'll probably be a more violent version come out, and much like the first one, I won't remember the difference, so it doesn't. It'd be nice to have a comparison.
Yeah.
But I know the longer Megan's only a minute longer than the other one, so it's just a bit of blood here and there, isn't it?
Yeah, it's probably when she kills the kid at the camp thing.
Yeah.
I presume it's that.
Yeah, that's how. Both versions are on the Blu-ray, but you got to watch them separate. And I can't spend 3 hours 20 minutes.
Sod that.
Yeah, one day. In the next lockdown, I'll do that.
Yeah.
So, you've heard our views, different views. If you've seen Megan and want to dive in, do comment on. We're on Facebook and Instagram where you can comment. Also, if you're listening on Spotify, you can comment. I will check that. And on YouTube, I will check that. But listen on those. It's on Apple Podcasts and Amazon Music as well. Don't check them so often. So if you want to join in the conversation, more than welcome. Be nice to hear different views. And this is a movie that a lot of people will have different views on, as we've just discovered, and that's a good thing, as we were saying before. And also, I respect you for really not liking it, but not going online and having a go at people who do.
Oh, no.
That's one thing I noticed when I saw your review. You just gave it a half star and didn't put a rant.
No.
So that's positive. That's what I was it? Did I do it? I might have removed it, but when I watched Infinity Pool, I gave it a half star and put Infinity Poo.
Oh, see, I loved Infinity Pool. Infinity Pool to me was a 4-star movie.
Yeah, I didn't.
Maybe even 4.5. I loved it. I loved Infinity Pool for what it represented and what it had to say about rich people in society and how if they've got enough money they can get away literally with murder. And I think it was a really well crafted analogy of that. So yeah, but again, just goes to show that you and I can have conversations about the things that we agree on and disagree on civilly without calling each other F words and C words.
Yeah. Flippers and
chaps.
Cold plays. Well, if not before, we'll get you back for Friday the 13th. Be up for it. I do want to get you on one of the Freddy ones.
Yeah, okay, cool.
That's brilliant. Thank you very much for joining me. And just while I think, you mentioned before that you made an independent movie. It's on YouTube, yeah?
It is, yeah. It's called Overtime. Though I found after I made the movie, there's already a shed load of other films that is also called Overtime. So the only way that you'll find it, if you want to find it, is if you type in Overtime, Mario Covone, and then it will come up. So yeah, give it a watch. I think it's great.
Yeah, I still haven't watched it. I feel so bad.
What?
I know.
What?
I will.
I'm half worried about your reaction to it after you do watch it. If you turn around and say that you prefer M3GAN 2 to it, then we'll fall out.
Oh no, I've had it on YouTube on my TV screen ready to watch. This was when you were going to come on the old podcast.
Yeah.
And I got a phone call, ended up going out, and then never. But I will. I feel bad. But how many of these podcasts have you listened to before?
Oh, none. I don't listen to podcasts.
There we go. Then. We'll call it a draw. But also, I think you should do a director's cut of Overtime and call it Overtime. That would be great. And we could do an audio commentary on it. So, anyway, thank you very much for joining me.
Thank you, Andy.
And, we want to hear your views on M3GAN 2, actually. I want to hear different views. And just go see it, because personally, I want a third one, so spend your money, yeah? Thank you, Mario.
Take care.
Okay, I'll just add that I made a mistake in that episode. I mentioned a Blumhouse movie from last year. I believe I called it AI. It's actually called Afraid, with the A and I in Afraid in capitals in the posters. AI, of course, is a Steven Spielberg film from many years ago. So, sorry about that. Make a lot of mistakes because we record it all live and brains are brains. But I noticed that one, so I thought I'd point it out. And just to say, the next episode coming up will be on Universal Soldier, and there will be episodes on Starship Troopers coming up as well, the whole franchise. I'll be joined by James Rowe, for those, who's been on the show before and does the King Street Cinema podcast. And as well as that, there will be an episode on Phantasm 4. We're getting through the Phantasm franchise slowly but surely. A great franchise. Check out all those movies if you wish, and then tune in to those episodes as they come. The next one will be Universal Soldier, which will be online very soon. Thank you all very much for listening. Thanks to James Howard for doing the music. Thank you to Ian Pointer for doing the logo and helping out with merch and just the podcast in general. Couldn't do it without you guys, and it's very much appreciated. I will add, this podcast will be spoiler heavy. I'm guessing a lot of you will have seen M3GAN. If you haven't, watch it. Go watch it now and get yourselves to see M3GAN 2.0 as well. It doesn't matter if you... oh, God.